What?
I'm reminded of the seminal truth that thoughts are just thoughts.
What?
Which is like, you tell that to my brain. My brain's like, no, we're going to need to massage this one another couple hours.
We don't have time for the tyranny of beauty, no more than we have time to be at war with our bodies.
And kind of where I wanted to like get into the question that we have to answer today is around like how you and I, at this place in our lives with all the data that we have or don't have, like relate to being in our body. And because you are kind of infamous for saying like we are humans who happen to work. We are not workers who happen to be human. And it turns out being human involves having a body. It's just a corporeal. I forget how to say that. Corporal is like someone in the military. You know the word I'm talking about? Corporeal? Is that it?
Yeah, like habeas corpus.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Of the body. What?
We need some Latin lessons, stat.
Latin.
Does Duolingo do Latin?
Neither one of us. I know. Neither one of us went to Catholic. Did you go to Catholic school?
No, I went to CCD.
I feel like Latin's really big in Catholic schools.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I want to. I'm going to read the question, but I'm going to come back to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think it's being in a body right now. What a wild time, as we always say. Okay, dear Emily and Katie, I'm having such a hard time in my body lately, especially when it comes to work clothes. Nothing seems to fit right, and now I've given up trying completely. How do I stop the negative self-talk and find my way back into the outfits I used to find so much power in? Help. I want to say there's no other identifying information. This person has truly remained anonymous. So I don't know gender. I don't know where they are in the world. So we're just going to answer this as, the common humanity that this question has behind it. But bodies, that's where I thought we'd start, like just to create the common humanity of being in a body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I want to say, I talk about this a fair amount in my life and in my work, which is that bodies are meant to change. And yet there are whole industries and vast diasporas of culture that are like, no, they aren't. And you should not. And if you are, you better buy this. That I feel like is an important common humanity element to share with this listener. In other words, like if I could distill that, it's like me too.
It's not just you.
It's not just you.
Me three.
Me three. Yeah. What jumped out at you?
It so deeply resonates with me.
I know.
For those of you who can't see us, Emily and I have different body types and different body sizes, and yet the same thoughts and struggles.
Mm-hmm.
Who benefits from us questioning our value based upon the appearance of our body? It's not us.
Mm-hmm.
We're not benefiting. To your point, there's a whole industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry that requires us as humans to be dissatisfied at best or to hate at worst the vessel we have that allows us to communicate our brilliant thoughts, give people really gorgeous hugs that feel so good, right? To be able to hold hands and pet dogs and show up as something other than bones and a nervous system. And we do not benefit from that. And yet, as I say this, how much money have I spent on skincare products, Botox, covering up my grays, vitamins that who knows if they keep me hydrated and keep my appetite for sugar in check. Like, I don't know, but I'm doing it because they're telling me I'm supposed to.
Mm-hmm.
And then I believe it makes me feel good. But does it? Or
Mhm.
does it just make me feel good because now the world is looking at me in a different way? I don't it's a chicken or the egg. But really not, because we know what's happening.
Yeah.
But I still buy into it too. So I say all of that without judgment, because I could talk about this for hours.
You and me both. And like the question of how do I stop the negative self-talk? Um, oh my God. Like, you don't fully.
Mhm.
This is an interesting statistic that I got from the National Organization of Women. Now, my mom was a member of Now way back when, and they're still around doing incredible work in feminism.
Founded in the '70s, right?
Yeah. I mean, what a time.
It's 50 years ago?
Yeah. According to research they have posted on their site, 53% of American girls are unhappy with their bodies. I would think it would be.
Even higher.
But then get this, it grows to 78% by the time girls reach 17.
Mm,
So being unhappy with your body, I mean, turn to the left or to the right. Message number one, I think that Katie and I want you to hear is like us too.
mhm.
The second part that I want to address is how do I stop the negative self talk? And I'm going to pull right from my time when I was in treatment for anxiety and depression, and also come to find out I had developed an eating disorder, um, and was in, the smallest size I'd ever been. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy. We'll remember this from our graduate school time. In treatment, right, we talked about how thoughts lead to emotions, right? Emotions can lead back to thoughts. There's a whole cycle, but it's generally speaking thoughts, emotions, behaviors, and then like a physical manifestation. So if you think about that, right, as a cycle, like we can interrupt these things at various points. And part of me with this listener, I thought to myself, like, what is the thought she wants to, they want to stop? Of course, I go she because that's the gendered part of it. Is it like, if I can't be another size, I don't deserve work clothes? I
Mm,
don't know. So, like, that would be if I had this person in front of me, like, what are some of the thoughts? Like, what is the talk? Because what I like to do when I have that talk is be like, "Brr," like, do not address, do not engage, do not diffuse, certainly don't challenge it. And then it gets loud for me. So that was the thought I had about the self-talk was like thought stopping used to be a thing that I think, in our line of work we talked about, and it's a tactic and a method in, a psychological framework. I don't think it works, and I certainly can't stop thoughts. I mean, that feels like a Marvel superhero's job.
not stopping the thought, we can't stop the feeling, like, which is even you gotta let yourself feel whatever it happens to be
Yeah.
that's associated, and I think that question you posed for the listener still holds.
Yeah. As does what you just said, like, what are you feeling, right? And sometimes with this issue in particular, like, people don't often say, well, they'll just say, I feel fat because, being fat is the worst thing that can happen to you, um, which is culture. And a lot of people, unfortunately, believe that. But what is the feeling? Is it I'm afraid, right? Is it I'm scared? Is it I feel ashamed? Like just even right naming that feeling. So again with CBT, that thought, that feeling, and then what is like the behavior that comes out of that? And it sounds like with this particular listener, it's a removal of self from like I don't want to participate, that all or nothing, like until I get to this place or that size, I better just stay in the shadows, retreating. And there's so many physical reactions that then come from that, right? When you don't associate with other people or you feel like, maybe you don't show up for work, you start to be tardy or I don't want to fearmonger in any way, shape, or form. This person's very clearly showing up, but thinking about kind of like not showing up in some ways. So yeah, that's when I was thinking about this, I was like, let me just open this treatment binder. because I remember this, going through this stuff and be like, "What was the" I've been out of graduate school for a minute, but I when people would ask me like, "What's your treatment modality?" and I would never say CBT, but I think it's a sort of a powerful in its application here.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, and I think any theoretical orientation when it comes to therapy and counseling can get a bad rap depending on when and how it's used, right? And I know being eclectic and pulling a little bit from every modality gets a bad rap. I think we need more of that. And there's a part of it is coming to the acceptance of Emily, where you started. To be human is to have a body, and we can either be at peace with it or we can be at war with it. And who needs to be at war with their own body with everything else that is happening in the world?
Mhm,
You don't
mhm.
benefit from it. And I know that can feel really selfish for some folks, especially if that listener is a woman. But sometimes I find in working with clients, particularly around issues of confidence, helping them see when you are removing yourself from a situation or an environment, not because it's toxic or because you don't feel safe in it, but for different reasons. My gosh, you're robbing everybody around you of your brilliance, your kindness, your warmth, your own experience that might help somebody else, or for you to connect with that person who's had the same thought that you've had or feeling that you've had around dissatisfaction with your body so that you can connect. When we are isolated, that is when, as a human, I think the most damage is done to us. We inflict that, not others.
Mhm.
And so I would also encourage this person recognize the thought, experience the feeling, and remember, if you're not present at work or you're not present with your friends or not present with your family, you're doing a disservice to them by not being there.
Yeah, and coming as you are.
Yeah, it's if we need rest, if we need to back out of social plans, I am all for that.
Oh, yeah.
Take your nap, get your 8 hours of sleep, and this is something I've been working on in therapy, trying to distinguish between the need for rest or am I
Yeah,
depressed, right? Like,
yeah.
we and, thinking of some kind of almost metaphor for that for yourself. So I don't know, Emily, you've watched Stranger Things.
Yes. Not in totality, though.
Like, they are numbered and it's
Yeah, yeah.
1, and he's the guy who's kind of in the upside down and then ends up becoming, like, entangled in these vines and tree branches. I'm like, if that's my feeling, I need to break out of that and go show up in the place no matter how I'm feeling about my body, my skin, my outfit,
Yep.
whatever it happens to be. If I feel like, 1, in the upside down, tied up in those vines, that's not me needing to rest.
Yeah.
That is me feeling fear of what other people are gonna think.
Yep. Yep.
If it's not that, I'm like, "Oh, no, I just need some sleep."
Right. That opposite action, that pull to retreat. Ooh, it is powerful. It is also quote unquote safe, like immediately, right? You get that immediate payoff of I don't have to do the thing, but the aggregate, it gets a little scary. So we've talked about common humanity. We've talked about noticing the thoughts, the negative self-talk. You can't stop thoughts, you can't stop feelings, and you can decide how much you're going to engage with them and what you do with them. I'm reminded of the seminal truth that thoughts are just thoughts, which is like you tell that to my brain. My brain's like, "No, we're going to need to massage this one." Um, but, even I, like, in the course of my treatment, that was a lot of what I worked on, was just, like, letting that cycle run. But I do wanna offer then this 3rd thing, which is there's a couple different ways you can interact with a thought if you want to, right? So, the question of, like, "What do I do with this negative self-talk?" If you can't stop it, well, what do you do? I like challenging it with facts,
Mhm.
you know? That's a really powerful thing. Or like challenging it with proof of the opposite that there are, I don't know what your body size is. I don't know how tall, short, wide, squat you are, but filling up your cup with body affirming options for clothing and wearing things today that don't cinch you off from reality and have you thinking about what you're wearing for the whole day, other than to be like, man, I look fly, right? So personal style, it's a great time to even just say like, what do I love, you know? And if is it still the same as when my body was that size? Has it changed? How am I? Like a little bit of audit. So challenging that maybe it isn't about fitting back into or going back in any way shape or form. It's like, what are we doing going forward? You can also diffuse thoughts instead of saying like I am, gosh, what would it be like? I am unworthy because I no longer fit into this work shirt. Could it be like I'm feeling sad that that shirt doesn't fit me, right?
Yeah. It doesn't become your identity. The feeling doesn't become your identity.
Yeah. So the diffusion or the challenging, those are two tactics in the moment when it comes up. I would like it if you were like, and we always give our critic or inner critic a name, like, thanks, but no thanks, Kate. It wouldn't be Kate. Thanks, but no. I just looked down at this book.
Thanks, man. I know.
That's why I said
And
it.
it wouldn't be her either.
It would never be her, and it would never be you. Ooh, let me not. Then I just won't use a name. I won't use a name. But like, thank you for coming, right? Diffuse challenge, moving on. Put on the yellow skirt, do the thing, right?
It's just something you said, and it hit me just smack in the face, which was, "You know what? I'm not worthy because this work shirt doesn't fit me."
Mhm.
What? What?
Mhm.
And so even just saying it out loud for this listener to say a thought like that out loud and recognize when I say this out loud, how ridiculous does this sound?
Yeah.
Especially if a friend or a family member or a colleague said that to me, my jaw would hit the ground and I would say, "What are you talking about?"
Right.
Eh,
Right.
it's and I need that too. I put on, a dress last night that I was trying on for a date tonight,
Uh-huh.
and it was a little too big, and it didn't quite fit the way I wanted it to fit, and I'm like, "I can't fill this out. I don't have the breast material for
The
it, the
curves, the
curves,
whatever.
whatever." Instead of, just being like, "Oh, I can return this and buy a smaller size or just return it wholesale." Like, it has nothing to do with my value
Yeah.
at all. But I had the same thing less than 24 hours ago.
Yep. I mean, right? Going from like, I'm a burden to I feel like a burden. Like these small adjustments, or everybody goes through this. Just even that mantra, right? Coming full circle back to common humanity. It's like, even Katie, even Emily. And I do sort of want this listener, like the assignment is like, get something, thrift it, resale, vintage, whatever you want to do, go straight to Nordstrom's anniversary sale. It'll be over by the time this comes out. Anyway, buy a thing.
Next year.
Buy a thing you love, right? That you feel great in and like get on with it, sister. Get on with it. And we got you, or brother or other or mother, whatever. Okay. It is interesting though with issues of body that I gender it because I know this too, and this comes from Now's site as well. 20 million women and 10 million men suffer from a clinically significant eating disorder at some time in their life. So like
Yeah,
they're right there
it's
with us. It's
human.
just human. It's just human. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Can I do a plug for a
You
book
better.
that is right in line with
You
this?
better.
A friend of mine from middle school, her name's Elise Hugh. She is now with NPR, published a book last year called Flawless. And I don't wanna call it a tagline for the book, but when I've listened to her give interviews and read reviews, the same 3 words keep popping up throughout, which is the tyranny of beauty. We don't have time for the tyranny of beauty, no more than we have time to be at war with our bodies, and the book is brilliant, incredibly well-researched, might help the listener and other folks understand where all of these pressures originated from and came from, because it didn't start with you. Um, it's our socialization.
Totally. And an invitation to the listener, go back and listen to this last season's episode with the author of Unshrinking, Kate Mann. Another great resource. Yeah, there's a lot out there and not all of it's good. So we just gave you 2 good things to read. Stay away from the other trash. All right. So finally, oh God, it's just a lot to sift through. So don't just do what we tell you to do. All right. Remember, you can ask us anything, anywhere. DM us on Instagram. You can visit us at who'smissingpodcast.com or leave us a voicemail at 773-389-3638. Your question could be next. Thank you for listening. We love y'all.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.